The power of patience. There is a verse in the Quran which says, "There are many small groups which have overpowered larger groups by God's permission, and God is with the patient." Here, izn means God's law of nature. This law of nature is patience. That is, this law of nature benefits those who give proof of patience. I have been thinking a lot upon this verse. I found out about a research which has been done in America. This research confirms this law of nature. That is, if there are two communities, one weak and the other strong, and the two clashes against each other, then if the weaker community is patient, it would overpower the stronger community. According to the research, the community which adheres to patience increases in terms of creativity. That is, the weaker community is patient with respect to the stronger community or the majority community. Here, patience means that instead of confrontation and negative reaction, it engages in silent planning. The community that is interested in silent planning develops its creativity, while the other community is reduced in terms of creativity. This research tells us about something very important. That is, in this world, patience is the real power or strength. This is because the result or outcome of patience is that a person thinks, plans, and therefore his creativity is enhanced. Then a time comes when a community becomes uncreative while another becomes creative. If one remains uncreative, the other will emerge as the creative one. In the above verse, the word galaba does not mean acquiring political power, but it has been used in the usual sense. It refers to a glad tiding given in the Meccan period of Islam. This glad tiding is valid even today. That is, if a community does not react but works with patience, then steadily and gradually its creativity increases. And the members of the community that reacts and adopts the negative line of action, its members become uncreative. I believe this is a great glad tiding for those who, due to various circumstances, are rendered as a minority. Being in minority is not your weakness, rather it is your strength. The only thing you need to do is that you have to work with patience. Patience, or sabr, is the reverse of reaction. Whenever there is a crisis, a community becomes angry, develops negative thought, and follows the path of reaction. Such a community becomes reduced in terms of creativity. On the other hand, if a community gives proof of patience and positive thinking, then its creativity is enhanced. This is a great law of nature. This law of nature gives glad tidings to those who have apparently become weak due to their circumstances. The way forward for them is to adopt the way of patience or sabr. Patience is the other name for silent planning. Patience is not cowardice. Patience means not to react, but to take part in silent planning. I have repeatedly experienced this. I have often had experiences wherein some people behaved wrongly or unjustly with me, but I did not react. Rather, I planned in a silent way. Then, with the help of God, I gained success. We cannot do this on the level of a community because the community's affairs are not in our hands. I invite all of you to think that even if the affairs of the community are not in your hands, then at least at the level of your family and at your own individual level, you can influence your destiny. I urge you to read the above verse in Tazkiratul Quran. There are many small groups which have overpowered larger groups by God's permission, and God is with the patient. Surah 2, Ayat 249. What is the meaning of God is with the patient? This means that the law of nature comes to the support of those who give proof of patience. This principle is applicable both in personal and community matters. I urge you all to read this verse and apply these principles to history and to yourself. Then you will realize this is indeed a great law of nature. It can be called the law of patience. There are two kinds of planning in this world. One is planning based on reaction, provocation, anger, and negative thought. The other is when you do not get provoked, do not react. Rather, you remain patient, think, and plan silently. Such people are successful. I will give an example in this regard. When America dropped 2 atom bombs on Japan, the entire nation became overwhelmed with anger. At that time, the mindset of the Japanese was bent on taking revenge. The logic given by them was that their air force and naval power were still intact, so they thought to use these 2 powers to destroy America. But some wise people emerged in Japan and pointed it out that America would not remain quiet, rather it would retaliate to that action. So they suggested that the Japanese should preserve their power and not react, rather they should engage in silent planning. As a result, the Japanese followed their advice. When I went to America for the first time, as I have mentioned about this in Al-Rizala, I saw that the American roads were inundated with advertisements of Japanese cars and products. The Japanese companies have overwhelmed American markets. You can read this in my travelogue. Silent planning is always successful, while reaction always leads to the opposite result. I invite you all to think from this perspective, whether it is your personal matter, family matter, or any other matter. If you do this, then you will be able to achieve positive results.